signs aren't the killer, it's the sign holders that get you. But buy the really good ones. Don't buy the cheapest, because the cheap ones will break on you.
Good evening. Welcome to this February 22nd, 2022 meeting in the Norfolk City Council. To begin, I will call the meeting to order and call your attention to the Open Meetings Act posted here in the council chambers. If you now please join me in rising for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Granquist.
Here.
Arns.
Here.
Merrill.
Here.
McCarthy.
Here.
Murin.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Clausen.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Okay, with that, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion and second. If no discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Now look for a motion to approve the full agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. If no discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
All right, that takes us to item number 23 on the council agenda under special presentations. This proclamation is for designating March 2022 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Proclamation reads as such: whereas there are individuals and families in our community adversely affected by problem gambling, and compulsive gambling is often hidden from family members, social services and mental health professionals, and compulsive gambling often occurs in combination with other disorders such as chemical dependency and depression. And it is important to raise awareness of the warning signs of compulsive gamblers and connect them with professional help. Now, therefore, I, Josh Moaning, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2022 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month and urge citizens to learn more about the consequences of problem gambling and help available through the Nebraska Gamblers Assistance Program. Is there anyone here to receive the proclamation tonight? Does not appear so. That'll take us to item number 24 on the regular agenda. I'd look for a motion to consider approval of an agreement with Active Network for an online registration program for Aquaventure, recreation program registration, season pass holder registration, shelter rentals, swim lessons, campground reservations, and a point of sale system at the entrance to Aquaventure in the amount of $23,035 with an annual fee of $12,500 to start on the go-live date in April.
I'll make a motion for consideration.
Second.
A motion and a second, and to give us some background on this, we'll hear from Nate Powell, our City Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. What you have before here is a contract agreement with Active Network. This will provide registration services for the Parks and Recreation Division. This would be online registration that you'll be able to buy your day pass before you even get there, show up with a barcode and scan in, go right on in. You'll be able to get your season passes, birthday party, scheduled birthday party rentals, swim lessons. All this can be done online. You don't have to go stand in line to get signed up for that. This would also provide online shelter rentals, campground reservations, which we don't have at this point, and then the POS system there at Aquaventure. We won't be rolling it out for concessions yet because we don't have internet at all of our concession stands, so we're just kind of stuck right there for now. But we'll look at some options here moving forward for that. Oh, that's why. Sorry about that. And then here, the fees that are laid out for you, it's the $12,500 a year with a 3% transaction fee, same as what we currently pay. I think it's 2.75% for our fee at with the Club Century program that we use at Aquaventure now. So there wouldn't be any difference there. All cities in Nebraska except for Bellevue have an online registration for all these types of programs and services. So we're one of the only ones that do not have these services, and Active is used all over Nebraska. And the Aquajets here in Norfolk have Active as their program. So if you're already on that program, you can go on in and purchase your season pass over at the outdoor pool. Right from that same program. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
What do you usually have for season passes, dollar-wise? How many dollars does the Aquaventure bring in?
PJ, you want to?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How much money does Aquaventure bring in a year?
I can answer that through concessions. I don't have the number for the pass holders. I can give you probably.
$12,500, I don't know.
Well, with the current program that we have, it's not accurate whatsoever. So when people come and scan their cards, it would be the same process, but they would be able to have this barcode on their phone through Active. The computer freezes all the time. It doesn't print receipts. It's our numbers aren't correct. So one day we had our numbers stopped counting at 1:30, and we probably had 800 to 1,000 people. But my Club Century report at the end of the day was only like 330. So our numbers that we're giving people are incorrect because that is not the correct number of people that actually came through our door. So that's one issue that we have with the current program. Is it beneficial? I think so, because with campgrounds, the amount of staffing that here at admin that they do, somebody's got to come down to go do a registration for a campground or a shelter, I'm sorry. And then, currently we're just doing cash in a box for campgrounds, and people don't know what we have available. And I think that would be a huge benefit looking outside of the pool and just moving forward and growing the recreation program. I think it would be extremely beneficial for that. Pass wise, we sell, a few hundred, I know offhand every year. I guess I don't have that report, so.
So I guess the answer to the question, we probably have 300,000 or 400,000 worth of revenue coming in, but we can't tell you, where our sales are because it's not tracking it very well. Yeah.
Where the value is
Yep.
for the amount of money you're spending. Like.
Yep. The convenience should, from my experience, you'll see an increase in usage of the facility, just being able, having that convenience to purchase online and rather than and then not even, coming or going to stand in line for a swim lesson, they might just go somewhere else.
I mean, yeah.
Yep.
So going forward, you say this thing can grow a little bit and you can get into concessions and all of that kind of thing, and I understand that might take a while. Where else would you see this growing in parks and recs?
Registration for recreation programs, which, we want to, expand on our recreation programming, and anything in the future where we're adding facilities and we want to do some programming out of those facilities, we can use this program to add to those programs.
Mm-hmm. So could you use it, for example, if you were going to have a 5K run, a nonprofit was going to have a 5K run starting down at Tawazuka, would you be able to allow them access to that so they could sign up their folks that want to do that run?
Absolutely. We've worked with a lot of partnerships where you're having art classes through the local art stores or something, where and they can run it through our program or and register through Active through the Parks and Rec program, and we can help sponsor that and get that word out for that event for like a 5K or 10K. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
and certainly open up statewide if somebody's living in wherever, Grand Island, and they want to come up here to do something, all they have to do is hop online on their way up here, get their stuff.
That's
go
correct.
right in. So
a lot of people throughout the state are already on Active, so they'll be able to rent a campground, campsite here if they're coming up from a further distance and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to get a site. Which,
okay,
yeah,
great, thank you.
Yep.
I guess I have one question, but I will agree. I think it makes it a heck of a lot easier. Everybody's using mobile too. to book anything, it seems like, or whether that's tickets or, you know, you're using your phone to scan in tickets to go to concerts or whatever it might be, including campgrounds. So being all-inclusive and hitting up all of our different facilities, I think it's a good idea. My question was, is it an app or is it just a website?
For us, it would be, you know, it's web-based, I guess, from our standpoint, but a user would be able to register on an app. They'd be able to use the app or the website. And so the website is geared, so depending on what device you're using, it just kind of shrinks down to whatever you're using and makes it more user-friendly. So if you're using a handheld and you're just on the website, it'll be mobile-friendly. So, yeah. But you can also, you know, use their app.
What if you're in like let's say a park, and you want to use the app to go ahead and do that, or use the website to do that? Is there like QR codes that they can scan to do that?
That's correct. So they'd be able to, yep, we can generate those QR codes for them, and so that's available. Like if they're at Taha you know, you might be able to even order your concessions before you even get to the concession stand. Maybe, you know, I don't know if that's possible, but because I know you can get your day pass, you might be able to even get your concessions through it at that point. But we would look into that.
Well, it'd certainly make it easier, say if you're at the pool, to do it that way,
Yeah.
rather than carrying money, or you know, if you could pay for it that way and just get your concessions.
Yep.
Excellent. Good idea.
Would it be fair to say, in other words, that we're bringing the 21st century to our Parks and Recs
That is correct.
department systems? Very good. And I can only imagine too that beyond the convenience and the user friendliness now for users, which is the ultimate goal, this is going to save a lot of staff administrative time.
Absolutely. I didn't have a chance to think about how many people are involved in a shelter rental right now and other things, and this is going to go down to one person in our office that'll be taking care of all this. Yep. And the staff time at Aquaventure as well, people lining up for swim lessons and other things. It'll free up some time for them as well.
Excellent work. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Nate.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else, council? Hearing nothing, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 25, I would look for a motion to consider approval of an interlocal agreement with Madison County, Nebraska for the purpose of funding river channel restoration on the North Fork of the Elkhorn River.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and second, and for some background on this, Steve Ramus, our Public Works Director.
Mayor and Council, this is an agreement with Madison County. They have agreed to provide $250,000 in funding towards the Johnson Park River Restoration Project. Very similar agreement to what we structured with the SID that did the same. I think they had a $250,000 contribution as well. What this does is establish that the $250,000 will be paid over 3 years in 3 installments throughout the project. $85,000 for the first installment, $82,500 for the second and third installments. We would not require that first payment until we've actually awarded the project. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward agreement.
All right, thanks, Steve. Any questions? I would just note that Steve and I did go before the Madison County Board of Commissioners a couple weeks ago to update them on progress on the project. And can never say enough that with this project, we've had the benefit of numerous partnerships like this one, planning and seeking and obtaining grants to help fund the project to the point of not needing to go do tax increases or bond issues on a substantial commitment that the city's making to public improvements in this area. So we appreciate the partnership, continued partnership, and are excited to see the project getting closer and closer to moving forward. So if there's nothing else from the council, no other discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 26, we look for a motion to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Invest Nebraska Corporation, a Nebraska nonprofit corporation, authorizing the city to contribute up to $109,577 to establish and operate a co-working space in downtown Norfolk.
I'll make a motion for consideration.
Second.
Motion and second, and for some background, we'll hear from Candace Alder, our economic developer.
Mayor and Council, you have in front of you a memorandum of understanding between the City of Norfolk and Invest Nebraska. We're seeking a partnership with them to help them establish and operate a co-working and business incubator space in downtown Norfolk. The contribution provides $26,400 per year for up to 3 years, broken out in quarterly payments. It also authorizes a little bit over $30,000 for equipment purchases and furniture to outfit the co-working space. And then we do have some podcast equipment that we would allow for the use of as a part of this agreement as well. This was presented to the Economic Development Subcommittee on February 7th and received well. We also presented it to several of our Madison County commissioners. The Economic Development Office is funded in part by Madison County. And so since this was a larger partnership, we wanted to bring them to the table and seek their opinion and agreement before moving it forward. So this would allow us to sponsor the co-working space, and Norfolk Area Economic Development Council branding will be on that, which is that co-branding between the city and the county. So we actually have a couple representatives from Invest Nebraska here, and I'd like to invite Emma Bennett up to tell you a little bit more about the space, if that's okay.
Thank you, Candace. So as Candace mentioned, Invest Nebraska is bringing our entrepreneurial resourcing outside of Omaha and Lincoln through the means of a co-working space and business incubator. On the screen, you can see kind of what the interior layout will be. And what co-working is it provides a business environment for remote workers, entrepreneurs, and creatives who might not typically work in a traditional business setting to have a professional business setting to work from. The business incubator side will help take startups from whatever phase of business they're in, either that's ideation or coming up with an idea, to the next phase up to getting Series A funding through a curriculum that we already have kind of established through a program called the Combine in Lincoln. And we will bring that programming here in the hopes of garnering interest and excitement around startups developing from the Norfolk area. With that being said, the partnership will also grant the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development Council members to use the space as needed as a drop-in use case. So any of the open desks in the area, the conference room, with enough heads up, you guys will be able to use that as needed. And it'll also provide a lot of programming for community members who use the space, and also just outside community members who are interested in business development, small business resources, and entrepreneurial ideation. So we have a list of programming that we will also host out of the co-working space and invite community members inside the space. With that, community members, there will be memberships offered for people to actually rent their space. There will be private offices. There will be what we call micro offices that will be kind of standing desks that give you some privacy, but you'll probably go out and work in the community area for a little bit longer stint. And then also just the community drop-in desks. So I will work out of there full time, so you'll be able to see somebody in there at all times, help explain, run day-to-day operations. We'll have a kitchen. We'll have people can come in, heat up their lunch, basically what you would do at home without your dogs barking or your kids crying. So any questions from anyone?
Emma, what's the, there are other co-working spaces, I think, that you guys are involved in, and what has been the end result of those spaces? What can we expect the end result to be here?
Yep, so the Combine is the program we're currently running out of Lincoln, and it's focused on the business incubator side, but we have produced a number of exits. Over 10 companies have gone through. Some have raised multiple rounds of funding, and then as Invest Nebraska as a whole, we've been able to invest in 80 companies over the span of the last 15, 20 years. And that our hope is to, in the next 3 years, have at least 2 startups come out of the space, not only just as bringing economic development to the area, but also something that is worth investment in from the Invest Nebraska side. So our goal is to get at least 4 startups running, 2 that would work inside the space in the next 3 years, and then provide workspace for up to 30 people-ish at a time based on city code.
So over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, it seems as though the landscape of people working has dramatically changed.
Yep.
I mean, there's lots of office space in a lot of big cities that's sitting vacant because so many people are working from home, but I would venture to guess that the home doesn't give you quite everything you would need to present yourself professionally to folks you're trying to work with or businesses you're trying to build. Is that kind of what this is?
Yep. So to actually speak on that, Prudential put out a report that 68% of Americans now prefer working in a hybrid type of environment. So a lot of people kept hearing, oh, we're going to go back to the office, and they aren't, mostly because productivity has remained the same and or increased. And just as you mentioned, you don't always have the professional background. We'll offer high-speed internet. So we'll do fiber internet into the space. All of the private offices will actually have Ethernet hookups. So you have no reason to not have connection. And then everywhere in the space will be available to Wi-Fi. But you'll have that high-speed, reliable internet. And then you'll also have a secure network. So you don't really have to worry about anybody else getting on the network that shouldn't be there. And we'll have a separate room that we'll have as a podcast studio / Zoom room that you can hop into and have a Zoom call. Specifically for startups, it'll be nice if you're meeting an investor virtually, you don't necessarily want the background to be crazy or there to be a lot of noise and disruption. So that's what we're hoping to provide for not just startups, but for anybody who's meeting people virtually. And then if they're in person, they'll also have a small conference room or the big conference room to hop into.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to go, Andrew?
What are the hours of operation?
It'll be 24/7 access for people who pay for the membership. You'll be able to go online and get your access code. If it's after typical business hours, 9 a.m. to 6-ish, 8 a.m. to 5-ish, depending on the days. I'll be there most of that 8 to 5, a little bit longer. This will be for creatives and side hustlers, so they're also going to be there at 2 a.m. wanting to work on their side gig. So as long as they're a monthly member or they've gone online within the day, they'll get a code that gives them 24/7 access.
Great, thanks.
Being one of the people that was in the subcommittee where you talked, I think it's worth bringing up that I believe you guys are nonprofit, and that obviously there's a money ask here, but we're not the only ones contributing to making this happen. So maybe just discuss that a little bit like you did in the subcommittee.
Yep, so through Invest Nebraska, we've received 2 grants, one from the Peter Kiewit Foundation and one from the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. Peter Kiewit was about $100,000 and the Kauffman Foundation was $250,000. So we have about $300,000 over the $350,000 over a 3-year program to get this thing up and running and operating. And that will help us with not only my costs, but then the costs of the build and reno, which is where we have experienced a lot of change in the last year and a half. So that's some of the additional financial. And then we also have a plan to work with local sponsors. My goal is to garner about $60,000 of sponsorship a year to cover operating costs. That way we're not always coming back for more money.
What is the cost of a membership?
So it's broken down into 4 parts. We'll have, basically you can get a monthly membership or an annual membership for all of the desk options. And they are listed online at intersectcoworking.com. But they range from the drop-in desks, a monthly membership around $250 a month, to the private office being about $550 a month. Those are prorated. If you do a yearly membership, you do get discounts. So the private office would be about $5,200 a year, and the drop-in desk would be $2,400 a year. So it's a monthly membership, and you don't have to. You can also do a day pass, walk in, just a $15 day pass to access the space. When you're in the space, you get free coffee, free snacks, whatever beverages are in the fridge. Bring your lunch in. So kind of typical of what you would spend at a coffee shop. You just pay to enter. That also covers the operating costs of the internet, printing, conference room rental, stuff like that.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
And what is the capacity of this facility?
Yep. So it's 3,200 square feet. So by city code, we can have 32 people in there. At the rate we're going with right now, we will have 12 private and micro office options, and then seating for about 30 people at a time. You'll think of it kind of like a gym membership. You want more members than you have space because not everyone will be in there at the same time. The conference room itself will hold, it's a very large conference room, about 24 people comfortably, very easily. Could fit more to be more of a classroom style. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and do you have any kind of interest already from the community on this?
Yep, so we have an active Facebook group, as of yesterday even, people interacting, asking questions. We have a list of about 30 individuals who have said they want either a private office or a dedicated office or a desk in the space. That list was started in 2019 and we refreshed it this year, and we've garnered new interest since then as well. So we have a good number of people. We're hoping to get pledges starting next month, with the hopes of opening late spring, early summer, depending on how fast the contractor can go.
Are you the only employee?
I will be the only Norfolk-based employee. Our Invest Nebraska team has 7 employees, including one who's morally supporting in the back. So I'm the only one based out of Norfolk. We have our Insights Network, who works with all of Nebraska farmers. He's in Bertrand. We have another person who is based in West Point. So we're kind of scattering out a little bit more, but the majority of our office is based out of Lincoln.
So you're there 7 days a week or 5?
I live here in Norfolk, so I go down to Lincoln a couple times a month, depending on.
I mean, when it opens here.
I'll be in the space 5 days a week. If we have an event, I'll be there on a Saturday if we need it. But with the 24/7 access, we want it to be as autonomous as possible so that people can get in, not just dependent on my schedule.
Any other questions? They're pretty talkative tonight. It's not always the case. I just want to say I appreciate all the efforts in cooperation again to make this happen. I think it's one of those new efforts that are necessary in proactive economic development. We did a lot of work over the last few years in recruiting and obtaining telecom infrastructure in this city that would provide easy access and fast access to internet and have those capacities throughout the community. This is just another step in terms of how people work today. You can do almost any kind of work from anywhere, and we want to make sure that it's easy to do it from here. So besides the startup assistance and the resource support for that, I think the availability of this space for people who need office space and conference center space on an occasional basis is very important. So we're excited that I think, as you said, this will be the first such site for Invest Nebraska outside of Omaha and Lincoln, right?
Yep.
Okay, so very good. Obviously, small business entrepreneurship is important to Norfolk's economy, very important, and this will only give it room to grow and lay the foundation for the community of innovators who are helping bring new economic opportunities to the city. So thank you, and thank you, Candace, and the economic development team for working pretty hard to make this all come together.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yep.
Is this
have a name.
Intersect Co-working and Incubator Space. So Intersect is the main brand name.
And before you step down, can I get you to sign in?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion, council, on this? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 27, I would look for a motion to consider approval of an interlocal agreement between the City of Norfolk, City of South Sioux City, City of Wayne, Cedar County, Dakota County, Dixon County, and Knox County to share emergency 911 call handling computer hardware and be known as Northeast Nebraska Regional 911.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Motion second, and for some background on this, we'll hear from our Chief of Police, Don Miller. Welcome, Chief.
Mayor and City Council, this is another program that we've been working on for a little over a year. I don't remember exactly long, but a little over a year. Now, when we talk about dispatch regionalization, oftentimes it's confused with the joining of dispatch that we did with Madison and Norfolk. That was the physical joining of our services in Norfolk. When we talk about regionalization, we're talking about Northeast Nebraska. Currently across the state, we have what's called an E91 or Emergency 911 call handling system. The state's in the process of going to Next Gen 911, NG 911, which has a lot more capacity, such as data where people could send pictures and videos. Somebody in the street could send us pictures of an accident, whatever. There's some other capabilities that haven't all been rolled out yet, but it's the next phase of a 911 system. As you can imagine, that system is going to include a lot of computer hardware, software, infrastructure to do that. Because of the expense, regions across the state have looked at how can they combine their resources to still develop this NG 911 system without the expense. If we wouldn't do this, then every single dispatch center or PSAP would have to have that infrastructure. What this agreement does is it creates a region in Northeast Nebraska where Norfolk and South Sioux City work as a host site where we have the servers and the hardware. We are connected by 2 fiber optic lines for redundancy, so that if one would get cut, then we still have the redundancy. But all the other PSAPs that are in this agreement work as a remote site connecting into that network so that we can continue to all use the same network of 911 call handling systems, but we share the costs of that in that process. Now, as we're doing that, like I said, Norfolk and South Sioux City are the hosts, so we've got the main infrastructure. Our IT people have been involved with our conversations over the last year on making sure that we maintain, of course, our 911 infrastructure is very critical. We have to make sure that we protect the infrastructure. As part of this agreement, we will have an interlocal agreement. We will build the infrastructure. We've already done a lot of the legwork. We have some equipment in place. We were able to look at other regions that have done this across the state to make sure that we're not inventing the wheel. And once this is set up, we are going to be ready to go very shortly if it's approved. We're kind of waiting until we get our IT room finished here in the next few weeks for our renovation, so we don't have to move our equipment around. And then we're going to be ready to get it up and going. We would like to have it up and operational by summer, is our goal. And as part of this, if it's approved, the next item on the agenda is appointing the chief of police and the support services captain as the representatives on this to make the decisions. All of the entities in this have had their legal entities review it to make sure they're comfortable with it. And we're going to be ready to go. And the idea is to share the costs. I mean, it won't cost us less money. It's just that the new costs coming in will be divided amongst the group of people involved in this agreement compared to us trying to foot that bill all by ourselves. What kind of questions do you have?
So you did say Norfolk is a host site along with South Sioux City, correct?
Yes.
And so what does that do with your plan already with Madison County? you have a certain number of dispatchers between those two, the county and the city now. How does this change your plan?
This will not change we're gonna still maintain we have our dispatch center, which is a joint between Norfolk and Madison. That will all stay the same, the dispatchers will stay the same. This is sharing the hardware in the infrastructure and the software in the back room. It won't affect the dispatchers. Now, one of the things that it does is it protects the infrastructure and creates some redundancy where if Norfolk, heaven forbid, got wiped out by a tornado, South Sioux City would still be able to maintain that whole infrastructure because the redundancies, and all these hosts could do that, and vice versa. Same thing with one of our other small jurisdictions, something happened to them, they would be able to flip the switches, and a Norfolk dispatcher would be able to assist in the call handling for that entity that got wiped out or had a outage or whatever that circumstance might be until they could get their infrastructure up and going. Now, as we've talked about it, obviously South Sioux City, we don't know their territory that well. So one of the other dispatch centers up there it would make sense for them to assist with their dispatch center. We would help with, something locally around the Norfolk area, but anybody could take over those duties as necessary. So while it won't change our structure, we have the ability to assist other jurisdictions if they would have a problem. But it won't change our staffing, it won't change the way we do business day to day. It's the computer, servers, software, upgrades, we have to have regular upgrades, and it's all done in the back room, not in the physical dispatch center. So I guess we're creating this network and we're gonna share the network, not the people.
Chief, is there a budget aspect of this that's coming or that has already been discussed?
We've been getting a lot of prices from the vendors. For example, the network lines, the redundant network lines are about $125,000 a piece, and we're gonna have two of them. That's shared compared to everyone having to do their own. Dispatch centers are very expensive to run, and this is one way that we can try to control our costs.
So will we see these budget numbers in 22, 23?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We're already working on them. I can't give you hard numbers because we're still working through that. Now, there's a couple other dispatch centers that are discussing coming onto into our region. And if they do that, then we would be dividing it by a larger number of people and our costs would be less.
All right.
But as of right now, this is the entities that are wanting to go into this.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion, council? Hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 28, I would look for a motion to consider resolution number 2022-6 to appoint the Norfolk Chief of Police and the Norfolk Police Support Services Captain to represent and make decisions for the Northeast Nebraska Regional E911.
I'll offer for consideration resolution number 2022-6.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion on this, council? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, resolution 2022-6 is adopted.
Okay, that concludes this meeting of the Norfolk City Council. We are adjourned.